Hello to the pessimistic, optimistic, and everyone in between. My name is Connor Philippe, and welcome back to the Minnesotan Sports Podcast. And man, the sports world and the sports gods kind of work in mysterious ways sometimes, because just as us Minnesota sports fans were lamenting over the fact that the Twins just got swept by the last place Kansas City Royals, and we're feeling just about as low as we can about the Twins in this moment, the Vikings give us a big win and give us more reason to be excited about the upcoming Viking season, because you just gotta continue to get our hopes up. It's the life of a Minnesota sports fan. Obviously what I'm talking about is Danielle Hunter signing a big deal with the Minnesota Vikings for this next upcoming year. 1 year, $20 million, $17 million of that is guaranteed. That's a huge deal for the Minnesota Vikings, especially in this upcoming season, and I'm going to explain why. So first of all, there are people that think that this is a poor decision. There are people that are complaining about it, because there's always going to be some people that complain about deals the Vikings make, especially when it involves paying players money, which is part of the process of getting good players to play for your team. But people seem to think that getting good players doesn't have to mean spending money, which kind of is a contradictory point to make. So I don't know what these people that are complaining are complaining about, because you got to pay your good players money. People are kind of doubting this decision. A lot of it has a lot to do with the injury history of Danielle Hunter, which he really has only had one major injury. That was that herniated disc in his neck. Sure, that could have come back to bother him, but last season, even though he had a couple things, that wasn't bothering him at all last season. And there was a lot of things that came with that big injury, and he sat out a whole season because of it, but now that is not bothering him anymore. I think it's pretty clear at this point that that's not an issue, and other than that, he's not an injury-prone player. People just see that he missed a whole season, and they just all of a sudden that label is put on him of he's an injury-prone player. Is simply not true. Also, just the recency bias in general is that people see a player get hurt, and then they completely forget how good that player was when he was fully healthy. And they assume he's not going to be that good again. There were points in say what you will about Mike Zimmer, but under his offense, Danielle Hunter was dominant, especially for a couple seasons there. Another reason why people are doubting this decision is because I don't think people realize just how underutilized he was in Ed Donatell's system. I mean, he was not used for anything that he was good at. He even dropped back into coverage a couple times. That is just ridiculous. He's a pass rusher, and he's not the kind of guy that can be versatile in that way, which is fine because he's so dominant at the one thing that he can do, but he's not, look at the guy, he's not built for going back into coverage. I don't know a lot about the guy personally, no disrespect to him. His defense was just atrocious. And there's no way I can imagine that our defense can be worse with Brian Flores, just because Donatell took a group of players that were pretty mediocre in a general sense, and he made them much worse. And now I think Brian Flores can take a group of players that would otherwise be called mediocre and turn them into at least a cohesive defense that can maybe get its way into the top 20. I got sidetracked. We're talking about Danielle Hunter here, and I'll give a much more full breakdown of the entire team as we get even closer to the season. Reasons why it's good for the Vikings that this move was made. Flores, like I said, he's going to have a very aggressive defensive approach. A main part of that is that he is going to run some very blitz-heavy packages, or at least that's what everyone is expecting him to do, and he's not shed any light that he's not going to do that. So that's the assumption. That's what he's been doing his whole career as a head coach and defensive coordinator. But very blitz-heavy packages. And what that's most likely going to do is that's probably going to leave cornerbacks out on islands a little bit. It's going to force them to go one-on-one. And against some of the best guys in the league, that's going to be kind of an issue sometimes. I think that blitz-heavy package is going to make us very dominant against inexperienced quarterbacks and teams with not the best quarterbacks. We're going to be dominant against those teams, but it's going to be a little bit of a struggle against, Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert and all these good veteran QBs that we're going to be going up against. So where Danielle Hunter comes in there is that Having a blitz-heavy package means that there's going to be a lot of guys trying to get to the quarterback, but you need that one guy who's going to go above and beyond to get to the quarterback even sooner, to pressure him even sooner, and that's definitely something we've seen Danielle Hunter do, and just having that extra second, or a second less, I should say, for the quarterback to make a decision is going to help the cornerbacks out tremendously. You have no idea. There's that saying that says, like, quarterbacks can make wide receivers look better, wide receivers can make quarterbacks look better, and it's the same thing on defense, that the pass rush and having a good pass rush can make the cornerbacks and the secondary in general look infinitely better. And that's a huge deal for Hunter to be able to have that dominant approach and to have a guy that's just a raw pass rusher that can sidestep guys. And we saw even last season what he was able to do. Saw that one specific play versus the Bears with Riley Reif, where he just sidestepped him and got to the quarterback instantaneously. And again, some really good edge offensive linemen, some really good guys in our division like Penei Sewell, for example, that are going to be hard to get past, and we're going to need guys like Danielle Hunter to get past those guys if that blitz-heavy approach and package is going to work the way Flores hopes it does. It's going to make some really inexperienced cornerbacks, like maybe potentially Andrew Booth is going to play. I think Byron Murphy is going to be fine, but we've got some young cornerbacks, inexperienced cornerbacks that are vying for that cornerback 2 role. Danielle's going to make those guys fit into this defense so much easier and so much more seamlessly. And then also why it's good for Danielle Hunter. I made a thread post. If you don't follow me on Threads, I'm on Threads and Instagram, so make sure you follow me on there. But I made a post just literally maybe 7-8 hours before that news broke that we signed Danielle Hunter. But I made a post talking about how I didn't really understand why Danielle was holding out as hard as he was and risking being traded when he had such an amazing situation here. Recency bias, I think, like I talked about, I think that recency bias would have also screwed him over in trying to get a new contract with any team we would have traded him to. That idea of, oh, well, we haven't seen a full healthy season from you, and last season was kind of rough, and they wouldn't have taken into account that Ed Donatell's scheme is the reason why he didn't play as well last season. And then you got the injury the year before. I don't think he would have gotten the money that he deserved if he would have left our team. And then, so we get him into a situation where it's a 1-year, prove-it-year season where he is going to have to prove that he deserves the money that he should get paid next offseason. And if he does what we think Brian Flores is going to do with this team, where it's going to be very blitz-heavy, he's going to get a lot of sacks this year. His numbers are probably going to be higher with this team than any other team he would be on this year. And those stats, those numbers, are going to get him a lot of money next offseason. I think all it comes down to is if he doesn't perform under Brian Flores' defense the way it looks like he's going to draw it up, he's not going to perform well anywhere. And I think he understood that and wanted to stay here, but he just wanted to, make a few more moves to see if he could hold out for a little more money, and he was able to do that, and he deserves it. So all in all, I think it's a great move for both sides. I definitely think the Vikings could have given up more for him even. So $20 million, honestly, not that bad considering some of the money that these other rushers are getting paid. And I think he understood also that he needed to prove it this year, and I think he's content with the $20 million this year too. So great move for both sides. I'm really excited to see him play, and it's crazy. It's only like 5.5 weeks now until the season starts. I got tickets to go with my wife to week 1, so I'll definitely be vlogging a little bit of that, and it's going to be really exciting. So if you want to make sure you see that video, make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications and all that stuff. And I really appreciate everyone that has been following me through this whole thing. I am looking to churn out a whole lot more videos as the weeks lead up to this season. I'm hoping to even get out 2 or 3 videos a week now as we get into the NFL season, and then there's going to be a lot of content coming. So make sure you subscribe. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. I'm going to even try to get some lives coming now, some live streams, maybe some live streams before Vikings games or before Thursday night football games, just to, talk with some people. And if you have any questions for me, let me know in those live streams. So Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Skol Vikings, and I'll see you on the flip side.